Welcome back to Project Dakar. In this episode, we finally get around to pulling the motor. Get ready, because it's an exciting episode. As you can tell, the driver's side engine mount is very far gone. The arm that mounts it to the engine is sunk into it about an inch. It's tearing, so yeah, you could definitely feel that when I test drove the car. You could feel the whole drivetrain start to rotate as you accelerated, so those are definitely due for replacing. Let's get this off now. That passenger side mount is a lot harder to get to. Once you crack them loose, they come out pretty easy though. Perfect. We just have that ground wire that we gotta get out, and this engine should be ready to come out. Oh boy, that's gonna be a knuckle buster, that's for sure. Okay, whew. Made it out alive. One of the worst things with pulling an engine on an E36 is finding a good spot to hook up to the rear part of the engine. I ended up using a transmission bolt and just putting it through one of the chain links. There might be better methods, but this is the one that I'm going to use. Just make sure your bolts are all in good condition and you're not going to snap them. So. I'm actually going to go and try and disconnect the engine mount arm from the engine just to give us a little more side clearance between the frame rails. Got this extremely oily engine arm out now. I'm going to hopefully do the same on the passenger side. I'm not as confident that I'm going to be able to get everything, but let's try it anyways. And a little bit less oily engine mount arm. Our first mistake is the fuel lines actually have a little bit of a bracket that sits underneath the intake manifold. I forgot to disconnect the bracket, so they're kind of stuck right now. And we are pulling on the lines, which isn't the best, but let's get that bracket off real quick. Okay, so that bracket's back here. It's a little 10 millimeter. See if we can break that free and get it out of here. There we are. Got those two hoses out of the way. You can also disconnect them down. They clip into another bracket on the dipstick tube. So So the next thing that's got us is there's this metal plate here that is housing the secondary O2 sensor wires. I always forget about it. Just two, I believe, 8mm screws. You got to take out, and there's this metal plate, and then just disconnect all the wiring so that it can come out with the motor. And there's one more back here. Sorry about the poor image. So this is where your fuel filter is. This metal plate actually has two bolts coming through it and then two little nuts on it. The two nuts are here and up there. Just gotta remove those and then disconnect all the wires that are attached to the engine still. So let's get that out of here. So once we get that metal cover off, we just have a few wires to unplug, including here. And then there's a vacuum line that goes on the back of here. And then it zip ties all up to here. So you just gotta disconnect those and then the engine should be free. All right, now we should be good to get this engine out. All right, now we should be able to get this engine out. Looking good so far. See if there's anything else I'm stuck on. Nothing else really looks to be in our way. There's one thing, our secondary air pump hose. It is attached still to the secondary air pump. That might be a problem. So let's go ahead and unclamp this hose. And I keep saying it, then we should be free to pull this engine. Beautiful. All right, now we look definitely clear. I can't wait for something else to find that we're not clear on, because I just said that. Seem to be clipping on everything. Maybe I should have gotten this harness out of the way first, but we're looking good. There it is. Engine is now out of the engine bay, at least. Well, this is exciting. Got a lot done. Got a lot to do still. Gonna have to get this thing mounted up to our stand soon. Huh. Little trim piece there, sitting there. Oh, here she is. Got the S52 out of the engine bay. It is all cleaned up in there. Well, I shouldn't say clean, but got the engine out. So things that, as you can see how little space I actually have behind me. Things that are concerning off the bat. I don't know what that is, but it is currently jammed in between the flywheel and the motor. This engine did run perfectly fine before I pulled it, so not sure what that's about. I don't even know what that's actually from. Other than that, I mean, it's pretty standard stuff. The oil filter housing is leaking. As we already know, the oil pan is quite sludged up. But overall, it doesn't actually look too bad for such a high mileage engine. I'm excited to take this thing down. We got a lot of parts that just came in, so excited to build this thing back up and get it back in the engine or in the car. There are little bits of trim pieces, like miscellaneous pieces that have been like laying around. Like there's a little plastic thing down in there. I already picked one out. Also this little trim piece sitting on the flywheel here, and I just knocked it down. Oh, yeah, that's not meant to be in there. Let's see, focus, there we go. Now that we got this engine out of the car, we're going to go ahead and take off the throttle bodies and intake, and then the flywheel and clutch, so we can get this onto an engine stand. I just want to take this stuff off to lighten it up so that it's less load on the engine stand. There we are. Throttle body is off, and it looks like it needs a little bit of cleaning. Take care of that later. Go ahead and disconnect this sensor here. Also have this hose going to the valve cover to the crankcase ventilation system. We're gonna go ahead and disconnect that now. These things usually break. I'm probably gonna have to just replace this anyways. And if they aren't broke, they're very close to it usually. There's that side, and then we can go ahead and take this side off too while we're at it. There we are. We'll go ahead and try and take the injector connectors off right now. I already recorded a little bit of a clip. I'll probably just voice over it. I'm going to try and show what I do. I just take a little pick, and hopefully this comes out well on camera. You just get underneath it and just pop it off. They can go flying sometimes, so just be careful that you don't lose them, because that sucks. So there's one side, but there we go. There's another one off. I like to just make sure it pops back here and stays nice and easy on there. So now that I got those all off, we're going to be able to just lift up on this, and all of the connectors should unplug, like so. Beautiful. So that's freed us up a little bit. Why don't we go ahead and get these O2 sensor wires out of here too while we're at it. Just a little snap there. Let's stick that back on. I believe there's one more on the other side here. So after toying with it for a while, using a little flathead is actually better than the pick, I've noticed. So don't follow my mistake. Make it easier on yourself. And again, here are these snaps. Just make sure they're all there. You don't want to lose those, because then you won't be able to plug them in properly when you go back to install. So like I said, we're going to get these O2 sensors out of here. They just plug into these little brackets. And you could disconnect them if you want, get them out of the way. I'm going to leave them on. And here's that bracket. We can put that back. Perfect. Okay, now that we have those off, we're going to want to go ahead and disconnect this last connector that's attached to it. You know, I kind of finagle underneath the intake manifold and just push down. And pull up. There we go. That harness is now disconnected. So we should be able to pull the intake manifold pretty easily here soon. Let's see what else we need to take off. Now we just have 7 more nuts, and this intake manifold should start to come off. We're going to go ahead and disconnect some of the stuff underneath as we take it off. It's just easier that way sometimes. I went ahead and lowered the engine, so it is now just resting on its oil pan. Got to take these 13mm bolts out that hold the bracket that supports the intake manifold. Okay, beautiful. Let's go ahead and disconnect the dipstick tube. Forgot about that. Okay, beautiful. We're gonna pull this hose off of the crankcase vent system down here that goes to the dipsticks tube. Okay. All right. Now let's see what else is attached here. There is a lot of stuff routed under here, and it's hard to kind of get a grasp on it. Okay, so right now we have a vacuum line going underneath here to where that sensor up top is. Let's go ahead and get that off. Go ahead and disconnect this vacuum line. Ooh, the stubborn one. Ow. Gotta also get this vacuum line out. These both probably need replaced. Beautiful. Okay. And what else? Oh, and the sensor. And the idle control valve here. All right, and there we are. Intake manifold is now off. Wasn't too bad. A few things we missed, but overall it's a pretty easy job there. I am running out of space to put things very quickly. Thanks for watching episode 5 of Project Dakar. We finally got the motor pulled, so there's exciting things on the way. Stay tuned for the next episode, and thanks for watching.